The K-pop industry for more than a decade has stood on top of the world. From small stages in Seoul to grand stadiums in America and Europe, the wave of Korean music is transforming into an unstoppable global force. The name BTS became a symbol of that glory, and among its members, the figure of Jungkook has always been considered a representation of the golden generation of K-pop: young, talented, hardworking, and almost flawless. However, amid the glitter of spotlights and thunderous applause, a big question began to resonate slowly but surely. Is this the beginning of K-pop's decline? The question does not arise because the album sales figures have dropped dramatically or concerts are deserted audience. On the contrary, K-pop still looks majestic on the surface. Songs still top international charts. Music videos keep breaking viewership records, and global fandom remains solid. However, what left the public speechless was a subtle hint coming from Jungkook himself. A statement that was not explosive, but felt deep and full of meaning. On the occasion of a live broadcast watched by millions of fans around the world, Jungkook spoke in a quieter tone than usual. He did not name names, did not point fingers, but expressed anxiety about the direction of the industry and the burden that is not always visible to the public. The sentence is simple, but the look in his eyes is different. There was a fatigue that the professional smile of an idol could not hide. For some people, it may just be an ordinary outpouring of heart. But to industry observers, the statement feels like code. Jungkook is not an artist. It grew and forged in a highly disciplined system under the auspices of HYBE, a giant entertainment company that has also become a symbol of K-pop modernization. If someone like Jungkook, who is known to be loyal and rarely speaks controversially, starts signaling about the industry's pressures and direction, there is certainly something worth looking into. For years, K-pop has been hailed as the most effective star production system in the world. Years of training, mature concepts, structured promotions, to well-planned global expansion make this industry a world-class idol printing machine. But the same system is also often criticized for being too strict, too competitive, and sometimes at the expense of the mental health of its artists. Many idols of previous generations have finally spoken out about extreme pressure, relentless schedules, and public expectations that are almost impossible to meet. Jungkook himself started his career at a very young age. He left his teenage life to pursue a dream in Seoul, underwent a harsh trainee period, and debuted before really getting to know the outside world. When BTS skyrocketed and became a global phenomenon, he was still growing up. The world sees it grow, but rarely realizes how strenuous the process is. In recent years, the dynamics of K-pop have also undergone significant changes. A new generation is emerging with increasingly bold concepts and increasingly fierce competition. Social media accelerates popularity, but it also accelerates criticism. One small mistake can become a hurricane in a matter of hours. The pressure to always be perfect is getting bigger. It is in this context that Jungkook's speech sounds like a deep reflection, not just of himself, but of the entire ecosystem. Some interpreted his statement as a form of concern against over-commercialization. K-pop, which was once synonymous with collective spirit and long journeys, is now considered increasingly oriented towards numbers and algorithms. Songs have to be viral, challenges have to be trending, sales have to break records. Is art still at the center, or has it shifted to being just a fast food product? But others see it from the other side. Perhaps this is not the beginning of a decline, but rather a transitional phase. An industry as big as K-pop certainly does not escape the cycle of ups and downs. After reaching the global top, the next challenge is to maintain relevance without losing identity. In the history of world music, many genres were once considered unshakable, but eventually faded because they failed to adapt. What makes this situation even more interesting is the fact that Jungkook is now also active as a solo artist. His success proved that he was able to stand on his own outside the shadow of the group. But that solo success also opened up new perspectives for him about freedom of expression, creative control, and a direct relationship with fans. Perhaps that is where the reflection on the system that raised him was born. The public reaction was divided. Some fans were worried and began to question the conditions behind the scenes. Others consider that this is just a form of maturity of an artist who begins to look at the industry with wider glasses. International media also highlighted, trying to read the meaning behind the sentence that is actually not too long. What is clear is that Jungkook's remarks have opened up a discussion space that has rarely been discussed openly, about the balance between global ambitions and individual health, on the importance of innovation without forgetting the cultural roots, about how the industry can continue to develop without eroding the humans in it. Is this really the beginning of K-pop's decline? The answer may not yet be certain. The industry is too big and too adaptive to simply collapse. But every era has a turning point, and sometimes it is marked not by a big scandal, but by the frank whisper of a person in the center of the vortex. Jungkook probably didn't mean to spark speculation. He may simply be speaking as an artist who wants his growing industry to be healthier and more sustainable. But it is precisely because of his sincerity that the statement feels strong. Behind the glitter of the stage and the cheers of millions of fans, there is a reality that is not always visible. Perhaps this is not a story about setbacks, but rather about early warning. An invitation to pause, evaluate, and improve. If K-pop is to continue to be a worldwide wave, it must be able to listen to voices from within, including the voice of a quietly speaking Jungkook, but echoing far beyond a single live broadcast. And amid all that speculation, one thing remains certain. The world is still staring intently at K-pop. Every word, every gesture, every tone has a meaning. When a star as big as Jungkook gives a hint, no matter how small, the world will pause to listen. The spotlight did not subside after the live broadcast ended. Quite the contrary, snippets of Jungkook's videos spread quickly across multiple platforms, translated into multiple languages, dissected verbatim by fans and industry watchers. Every pause of his breath is analyzed. Every choice of diction is questioned. Many felt there was something bigger going on. Something that had probably been kept tidy behind the walls of rehearsal studios and entertainment company boardrooms. As part of BTS, Jungkook has witnessed firsthand how K-pop has transformed from a regional phenomenon into a global cultural force. He stood on giant stages in America, Europe, to the Middle East. He saw how Korean songs were sung by thousands of people who didn't even understand a word. It was a moment of undeniable triumph. But big wins often have big consequences. Some industry analysts began to talk about market saturation. In recent years, the number of debut groups has increased dramatically. Concepts go to extremes for the sake of attracting attention. Competition takes place not only between small agencies, but also between entertainment giants who have unlimited resources. HYBE, for example, made a major expansion, acquiring overseas labels and expanding its global network. The strategy was hailed as a visionary move, but it also sparked questions. Would relentless expansion come at the expense of artist quality and well-being? On the other hand, the new generation of idols grew up in a much harsher digital landscape than Jungkook's generation when he debuted. If in the past criticism came through forums or media articles, now comments can flood in seconds. The pressure to always look perfect 24 hours a day feels almost impossible. Jungkook himself once admitted that public expectations sometimes make him feel that he must always be strong, even when he is tired. His statement about the burden that is not always visible seems to reveal a dark side that is rarely discussed openly. The K-pop industry has always been built on an image of hard work without complaints, impeccable discipline, and total loyalty. But today's generation of artists is starting to talk more honestly about mental health, the right to rest and creative freedom. This is not a form of rebellion, but rather a sign of maturity. Some see that if K-pop doesn't adapt to these changes, it could lose its appeal. The global younger generation increasingly appreciates authenticity. They want to see artists as human beings, not just perfect products. Jungkook, with all his popularity, has become a symbol of that transition, from being the idol that the system has made him into an artist who dares to speak out about the system. But of course, there are also skeptical voices. They argue that every major industry inevitably goes through a phase of reflection. Hollywood was once considered a collapse many times, but it survived. The Western music industry also experienced a crisis due to digitization, but finally found a new model through streaming. K-pop is at a crossroads.